Hey everyone, you're welcome to another video. And in this video, I'm going to be explaining how you can implement internalization and localization in your React application using the i18next library. And using the i18next library. And there is a reason why I'm going to be making use of the i18next library, and this is because it is the most widely used internalization framework, because it supports multiple front-end and back-end frameworks, as you can see here, including React, Vue, Angular, Node.js, and even platforms like Flutter. So and it actually makes pluralization, lazy loading and all easy to implement in your application. An alternative would have been to use React into library. So since we are making use of React, this would have been like a perfect library to make use of, as it actually is part of like the format.js library. So it has a lot of it offers like built-in formatting components for formatting your numbers and dates and all. So you can explore that. But I'm going to be explaining using the i18next library, because I feel that's like a universal library most people end up using, and like it even works perfectly with your React application. And in case you even need, like, you can easily integrate like external libraries, JavaScript methods and all into your project, and everything works perfectly well. Yeah, so we're going to be implementing it from scratch, just as if you're starting a project and then you want to start implement localization from scratch, which is like the best thing to do if you know your project or your company is going to scale. So instead of hard coding everything and then later when you need to implement localization, then you start like switching up things, which could be which could become like a lot. It's always nice to like have like the whole idea of internalization like from start, you understand, and then all that is left for you is localization. Now internalization, localization, it looks like two different terms, and actually it can be confusing. Now when you go ahead with local internalization, you notice instead, when you are reading, instead of internalization, you see i18n. And like recently I just got to know like why it's i18n. And you know, we have internalization, and I stands for I and then the n, and then they said the number of letters between I and N. There are 18 letters between I and N, so that's why it's I18N. Then for the localization, you see L10N. So that means L for the beginning of the text, and N. Then there are 10 letters in between. It's really funny, but like, yeah, it's nice to like mention how we come about that. Yeah, and the difference between internalization and localization. So internalization, actually, I think it just has to do with preparing your application or your projects to be able to handle multiple languages, handle like different locales. Um it while localization actually has to do with adding translations and like adapting your application to different regions. So internalization can be all about like the logic, implementing the logic for localization, while localization has to do with like I've been able to implement the logic. My app now supports internalizations. Like I add like various different languages. For example, maybe I start with English language, and then we're thinking of going into the Philippines market, and then like, yeah, we now bring in, so we translate the English translations like to have like the Philippine like language and all. Yeah, so that was localization. I'm just trying to explain like these basics. I'm not gonna rush this video. So I noticed I over the years I've gotten to like write a lot of articles around internalization and localization. And yeah, so recently I did a quick dive, and I thought, why not create like a video. If you go to my blog and you search, let's say, localization, yeah, I've had to like write using the transfers tool. I think internalization will be a better search. Yeah, on the iGraph website I've also written like all of this. Yeah, and like it really makes sense. But like now I'm not using any of these tools, and I'm just using open source libraries. And yeah, and it's that is like what I'm going to be explaining in this video. So let's get right into it. So we're gonna be making use of the i18next documentation. So I spinned up a basic React application using Vite. If you want to know how to do that, so npm create, and then you put the name of your project. Then I use the React template. You replace Vue with React, and that's all. You'll be able to spin up a basic Vite project, and yeah, we have all of that. And then your src folder, we have the app.jx, which we're gonna replace very soon. But let's go straight into the whole thing. We have to install a whole lot of libraries. We're gonna install i18next library itself, and if you see the getting started page, we're going to install i18next library itself, and we're also going to install a couple of other libraries. Since we're making use of React, we're going to install the i18next React library. Yeah, it's a React specific integration that allows us to use translations inside of components. So yeah, this is the npm package. Later on in this video, we're going to install other libraries, like a library that allows us to load translation files dynamically from external sources. And also we're going to install a library that helps us detect users preferred language. So it's not just us like specifying the default language, but like being able to detect the users, well, whoever the user is, their default language. Yeah, that would like really make sense. So let's get straight into installing these two libraries. So we're just going to make use of npm. We're going to install both in the terminal. I'm just going to push this up, split the screen. Yeah, install it. So i18next and React i18next. So once you have both of these files installed, the next thing will be in your source folder. You're gonna create a configuration file. So let's just say i18n.js. So you can name this whatever you like, but I think this is like a preferred way to like name this file. Else you would have to like be doing configurations, right? Yeah, so after creating this file, basically what we want to do is to initialize i18next with support for loading translations here. So the first thing, you're going to import the libraries, the two libraries we installed. You're going to import both of them here, and after importing both of them, then we need to initialize the i18next. So basically i18next dot we're going to make use of the React library, and then we're going to initialize. So first thing first, I always encourage you to set the debug to true, so that when a key is missing, it throws this error instead of you trying to like look for like what's wrong and all those kind of thing. And then you should also always set a fallback language. Yeah, these are like cool things to like set up in place like from scratch. And then the next thing you would want to do is to set up I think it's called resources. Yeah, resources. And this is where you add like your translation. So yeah, if I add resources, I'm able to like add English translations, and then like I can add like a comma here and like add maybe for French. So this is like the default format where you have to add like translations, then you put a key and then the text. So because you make use of this key to like add like in your GSX, we're gonna like explore all of that, just like the way you handle environment variables, whereby you store stuff in your .env file and like you store them to a key, and then like you call them in your code, right? That's almost similar to what we're going to be doing here. Almost similar. And let's close this up. I don't need any other thing, so we can just close this up, and then next thing we just have to export i18n, because we're going to import it in our main.js file for us to be able to access it all through our application. So like I said, you can name this whatever you like. Yeah. So I just hope you understand what's happening here. But basically what this is doing is we are making use of the React version of i18n, and then we are like setting all these parameters. They are not compulsory, but it's always nice to set them. And then the resources. Later on we're going to take this away from here. But like yeah, this is like our translations, and like yeah, you notice whatever we have here, we have it here using the same key but different like text. So the key is like the common sorry, I'm not getting the right word, like yeah, but the key has to be like the same in your translation files. So then the next thing will be for you to go to your main.js file. So if you're using older versions of React, I think it would be your index.js file, and yeah, we have to import the file we just created, which is i18next.js. Now, once we import it, we'll be able to access this localization configuration all through our React application, and that is all we need to do for configuration. Now, with all of this done, the next thing will be for you to make use of next thing will be for you to update the app.js file for you to use these translations, right? And that's loading up your translations so that you can display them. Yeah. So for you to do this, so we can close all of this and go to our app.js file. And for you to do this, you're going to be making use of the useTranslation hook from the React i18next library. The useTranslation hook is what we're going to be making use of. If we go back to the documentation, getting started is where we should be. I really don't know why this takes time to load, but yeah, after your configuration, I think I should just go and look for the React version of this project and be using that instead of the general one. I just want to go back here. Yep. So here, getting started after installing both libraries like we did earlier. Then in your app.js file, so we're going to be making use of the useTranslation hook from the React 18 library, and this gives us access to this T function, which we can use to call the key in which we added in our translation object. So yeah, let's get right into it. I'm just going to copy this line. I think I can copy it from somewhere else. Yep, go back to our code, and I really want to do away with all of these because I don't need them. Right. We'll do away with everything, man. Yep, I'm just gonna do away with that. And yeah, we can just have like an h1 tag. Yeah, we can have an h1 tag. And yeah, we can do away with this also. We can do away with almost everything here. And then yeah, we have to import the library. We're not going to make use of this component yet, but I'm going to explain it later. So we are using the useTranslation hook from the React i18next library, and then this gives us access to the T function. Let's go back to the documentation. I want to see something. So this gives us access to this T function, which we're going to use here. I'm really trying to struggle. Yeah, so now with this T function, we can now come into our project. And remember, we defined a key called welcome here. So we're going to make use of the welcome key here. And yeah, so instead of hello, welcome. Yeah, once we load this and we go to our application, when we reload, we're going to see welcome to React i18next. Now, if I go back to my i18js file and I change the fallback language to French, and I go back here, we're gonna see the French version of our translation, which is chill. I really feel this is cool, and like this is where we have been able to implement internalization. We have been able to implement internalization and localization. But yeah, but we're going to take all of this away from here very soon. But like I want you to really understand and grasp all of this. So the key is like what really matters, and then the T function, and then yeah. So we can also call other things. So we have another key called edit, right? Yeah, we have a key called edit. So when we go here, we're gonna see that. And yeah, if you go back and change the language to en, and then you're gonna see this. Now, one thing in this video, we're also gonna touch on us being able to switch the languages in our application. So I discovered most your tutorial videos hardly touch on this. They explain the logic and then they leave you to like struggle with the rest. But like yeah, we're gonna touch all of that in this video. And like now you see the basics of this. Now another thing I'm gonna show you is now you'll notice in this translation file we have like a code within the translation text. Now this code tag, it is supposed to format like this, so we're not supposed to like see the code tag, but like it is returning it as a string, and that's like basically what it's doing here, which is wrong, right? And that is very wrong, and that is not what we want. And this is where the trans component comes in, which is a really cool component but can be very confusing. The trans component gives you a lot of power by letting you interpolate or translate complex React elements. The truth is, in most cases, you don't even need it. That's the truth. Honestly, you would hardly need it, but when you do, it's recommended to use it. For example, in that scenario, but most times people would like break things up so that they don't even have to like add code into their like translation files and all, because it can be very complex. Yeah. So for cases where translations contain HTML elements such as links inside sentences or like the code tag which we just saw, you need to make use of the trans component. Now for you to make use of the trans component, you're also importing it from the React i18next library, just like the useTranslation hook. So we're gonna go back to our project, and yeah, we're gonna import it. And yeah, once we import it, we're gonna go back and yeah, so basically what it does, you need to wrap the trans component around like a basic string, like I'll call it like a syntax of like what you want, something like that. That's what I'm going to call it. So I'm gonna adjust this and let me see if GPT can give me what I want, but it's not giving me. So I'm just gonna copy this text and paste it here, and then I'm going to replace the p tag with the trans component, and then we'll make use of the i18 key and then pass in the key. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. So i18 key edit. So edit is the key, and then automatically it's going to know that it's going to replace this. And then now another thing is we need to go into our translations, and we cannot make use of code here. If you come back to the translation, you notice they're making use of like 1, 5 and all like this. Now the way this works, that is why I say it's very confusing, and that is why the note here says sorry, I saw a place. The truth is, in most cases, you don't even need it, because this can get really confusing. And like what I'm going to be explaining now is quite confusing. And now, what trans component does behind the scene is, okay, before I explain this, let's actually see how it appears. So I save everything. Honestly, I really don't think anything is going to be different, but let's just see that the translation works. So we have the English now, and then we'll go to we switch back to French, and yeah, we have French. Yeah, French appears, but the code tag is still not working, and that's what I'm about to explain now. So if we come back here, we'll notice now what is happening here. Take a look at like this. So hello. So what happens is the trans component breaks your string into like an array, So hello up to like this point takes the 0 index, then the tag. Okay, so I think we're looking at the wrong thing. So let's look at here. So hello up to here takes the 0 index, then the strong tag takes 1 index, like index 1, then here up to like the next tag, I think, no, here up to here takes index 2, count takes index 3, then this takes index 4, then the link takes index 5. So now with that, so you're going to, so that is why you see this is wrapped around 1. So if you're going to be having a tag, you need to wrap it with the index number. So that's why you have this wrapped with 1, and then you have the link wrapped with 5. You understand? So now if we are going to come back to our own use case, so edit is going to be like index 0, and then this is going to be like index 1. And same thing here. So if we have another like tag, then we need to like calculate everything, and then now when we now come back to our application, we're gonna say this is now formatting like code, and the tag is actually gone. And then when you switch back to English, same thing, everything is just gonna work well. So yeah, this is so in some scenarios you may need to make use of the trans component. It's actually easy to understand, but like yeah, I think you should always make use of this, except scenarios like really warrant you making use of the trans component, and then you just pass the key. And like it's also I think the next thing we should explain is interpolation. Now, just like in your JavaScript, I think we call this concatenation, whereby you are like adding variables into your string. Yeah, variables into your string, and it's actually a very cool context. Something to like take a look at. So for example, if in your application, let's say you have like a variable called username, and then you have like a name, let's say David, yeah, David, and then you want to be able to pass this name, because you cannot translate David, right? It's like a name that has to be like constant, irrespective of the language, because this is like the person's name. So I think let's define, okay, let's add like another key. Let's call it hello. Yeah, and then the French version, I think it should be bonjour, or it should be hola, right? Or is that Spanish? Yeah, so okay, we have hello and bonjour. Then we can now come here, and let's say we have a span tag. Yeah, we have a span tag, and then now we can implement interpolation. So this is what's happening. We're calling the hello. Now hello, sorry, I am actually missing something. Now here also we don't just define hello, we actually have to define to tell it that, oh, it's expecting a name. Sorry, I'm actually confusing myself already. Yeah, I'm actually correct. I'm correct. Yep. So same thing here. Yep. So basically what this is doing is, okay, I am expecting a variable that is going to fill up this spot. And then when we are defining it, after passing the key, we need to specify the variable. We need to specify the variable. And then it's automatically going to know where to place the variable. Even if there is something after, let's say there is something like this after, and then there is something like, come on, complete it for me. Oh, it's not going to complete it, but I think this is it here. So I'm just going to put it myself and complete it myself. So yeah, irrespective, the variable is like within, but like, yeah, all of this does not stop anything. So we just pass the key, and then pass the variable as the second parameter to the, yeah, as the like the second parameter. Yeah. So with that, when you load up your application, actually felt something was wrong. Yep, actually felt something was wrong, and actually something is wrong because we specified here as name, right? So if I change, so username, so you know they're resisting in JavaScript where if I change this to username, it may work, or it still did not work. So like, yeah, my God, okay. So basically, what we just need to do is come here, and specify the name is going to be username. Oh, come on. I've actually been the one messing up this whole thing all along. Like I said, this is supposed to be a second variable. And funny how I said it, that it is meant to be a second variable. So this is meant to be passed here, right? It is meant to be passed, sorry, not there. Not there, not there. It's meant to be passed here. Yep. Come on. A lot is breaking and it is normal until it is not normal. So let me let ChatGPT do it for me. So okay. So in the T function, we're gonna pass the key as the first parameter, and then we're gonna pass so we're going to interpolate, so username, so we're assigning name because like we have name here, but I'm going to try something. So with this it's going to work, right? So hello David, welcome. But what I want to experiment is, what if we have username like this, and then we come here and we just define username. Yeah, I knew it's gonna work. I knew it's gonna work. I knew it's gonna work. So yeah, and then when we come back here and we change this to FR, yeah, everything works. But like, yeah, let's switch back to name. I think that's like the best. And then like you assign it like this. So this is how to implement interpolation. And I was going to explain that we could also pass in interpolation into the trans component, So for example, what can we call this? So let's say we want to add like so let's go back to the documentation. I'm trying to get a perfect example, so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to copy this and come here and change the edit to this, but I would struggle with the localization. So how do I know the localization for this? I really hope GPT could be smart, and it looks very smart, right? Yep. So like I explained before, why we have 1 and why we have 5 is due to the index number. Then we can go into our application and so there's a default parameter, but like, yeah, it's always best to like pass it within. So I'm gonna copy all of this. Is this the text? So I'm just gonna copy this. This doesn't, oh sorry, this is it, sorry. Yep. And then we can go back to the app.js file and then like replace it. Yep. And this is it. Now you notice like we have like a variable count. I'm going to replace it with okay, let's just have a variable count. Let's have a variable count. Constant count equals to 1. And since we're going to be making use of link here, we need to, I did not import, I've not installed the library, so this is weird. I've not installed the library. Maybe we'll just take off this. I've not installed the use React Router library, so yeah, that's why we have that error. So we can just do away with the last part of the translation, since we are just concerned with interpolation. So we have name and count, and we have this yeah, we have username. Yeah, so we can now pass, sorry, we can now go into our app.js files and pass count here. So we're passing in the count and the name. So this is how you implement interpolation using the trans component. And then when we go here, we're gonna see hello, you have 1 message. And that's wrong. It's supposed to be hello and then the name, right? Now let's see what they did in localization. So name is person. Um I think I figured it out. So I don't think we need to pass this here. And basically we need to like tell this that it is username just the same way we did here. Just the same way we did here. Because we actually like passing it like yeah, we're passing. This is just so funny because in this tag, in this strong tag, we are passing in like the key, like we're passing in the key already. So it's not even taking it like the way. So it's just like we're doing interpolation inside interpolation because like we're working on like this strong tag. So it's just a very complex situation. And then yeah, we have hello David. You have one unread message. Now another thing I will proceed to explaining is pluralization. Now, after I explain pluralization, I'm going to go ahead to um, remove the translation files from here and take them into their separate files, and then we're going to implement like a switching a way to be able to switch the languages from our application instead of coming to like edit the code. And yeah, I think we'll be almost done by then. Yeah, so straight on pluralization. I think what does pluralization actually mean? Pluralization, I'm trying to like get like a very good way to explain it. But you see, some languages they have like different ways to handle plurals. So in English, we just have two. So when something is either one plural or one, so we are like you say something like the I have one boy, or I have two boys, or I have zero boys. So there are only two situations. It is either it is singular or it is plural, and plural includes zero. You understand? So that is for English. But for some languages like Arabic, they have like a lot of. They have I think close to 5 or 6 ways to like pluralize. And like yeah, so when you are handling pluralization, there are you need to be conscious of this, right? You need to be very very conscious of this. And yeah, let's quickly get into pluralization. And yeah, so for example, here here, so there are two ways to handle this, but first off I'm just gonna put in a code here. So now what is this doing? So we have like news where like we can like indent code like this. So the main key here is the article read, but we are adding like this underscore and one and underscore and other. What does it mean? It's like in a situation where it is singular, use this, and in a situation where it is plural or zero, that's other situations, you use this. And what's the difference here? It is like one article, but here it's going to put the count and then it's going to add s to the plural articles. So this is like handling pluralization. Now there's another way to handle this using the ICU format. What does ICU mean? ICU localization. So it does not get. ICU stands for um crazy international component of Unicode. Yeah, so like it defines the various ways of like handling pluralizations for different languages, making use of the common local data directory, data repository. You can check out this repository. It defines how various languages in the world handle pluralization, how they handle pluralization. So it's like an open source project, and it's actively maintained. um, Honestly, I really don't. I've checked this recently, but like I really don't want to click on the wrong link. But yeah, I think it's not bad to like check Yes, so like it gives you a list of languages and the various ways they handle. Yeah, so you can just check around with, you can play around with it. But like, yeah, that's like, so we have this, have this. So we're going to learn how to use ICU very soon. But like, yeah, so we have this, and then let's implement the localization. So we have this for localization, and then in our project we can now come into our project and do something like this. I'm gonna just copy a code and just paste it here. And yeah, so basically what we're doing is this. I'm gonna take off this. So I need the count. So we're gonna make use of this count number. We're going to make use of this number. And so you notice that we're using news.article read because of the like the indentation. So we have news and then article read. But remember I said this is just the key. The underscore is just like a way to know the pluralization, the plural value. You understand? So when you save all of this and come into your application, you see you have one article, and this is because the count is one. So by the time you change this to 0, it's going to change to you have zero articles. That means it's making use of the second value. Same thing with the French language is now so by um what's the number? Oh, we have 0. When we use something like 6, he's gonna have us who's avec 6 articles. Yeah, so that's how to undo pluralization. But I actually feel this is not really a nice way to do it because it can really get complex. So the ICU provides like a nice way to do it, and with i18next you can actually use ICU in your project. So you just need to install the the plugin, right? We need to install the ICU plugin for i18next. Yeah, so it allows you to use the ICU format. So you just need to copy this and go into your project and install the library, and then you come here in this initialization. So we can break this down. Sorry, I think you break it down with the dot. So we can break this down like this. This is like a better way to format it. And then so just here we need to first import the ICU we need to import ICU. Now after importing ICU, then we can now use it here. Yep, can now use it here. And now you can now adjust this to just use one key and then have like these various scenarios. I'm just gonna copy this and I'm going to replace it with just one key. So now what do we have? We have just article read, and what it's saying is just like similar. You have read, and then we have like this bracket here, which is like checking. So if the count is like plural or like one, so if it is one, it's going to say one article. Then for other, it's going to be like um the count doesn't like articles like, yeah, so it's just like having it in like one stuff. Can also adjust this, so just depending on what you want to use, but like I'm just showing you the various ways. So with still 6, when we go back, um looks like there is a problem somewhere. Oh, sorry, I forgot the problem. And the problem is I imported this and like put it in colors, which is wrong, very wrong, very, very wrong. And like, yeah, so everything just works normally. And we can switch the language to en and change the number to 1 and save both files. and go back, and we're gonna see you have one article. So yeah, just depending on the format you prefer. But I think ICU format is like you prefer, and like for some libraries like the React into library, like it's like a default format. Yeah, and before we get there, we're going to get into formatting. But before we get into formatting, I feel like the translations are becoming like really a lot, and like let's move them into like their distinct files. Now for you to do this, there is a library we need to install, and that is the um backend library. It's called the i18next backend library. I'm trying to like grab the link. Oh yeah, it's called the i18next HTTP backend. So just put it here. Yep, this library. Yep. So it's a simple i18next backend. Yeah, to load resources like just as if you are. So we need to install this. I don't want to specify a long a. So when you install this, then you need to import it into your. Yeah, so we can import it just like import backend. So when it has finished installing, yeah, it has finished installing, you go back to your configuration file. You go back to your configuration file. So just the same way we use IC like dot use. So there is no order to how you place it, but we use the backend. And now we can take off these resources from here. So in the public folder, I think, but depending on how you want to structure your file, honestly, you can put this anywhere you like. But yeah, I think like you put your static files here. So it's easy for you to implement CI/CD pipelines and upload it to maybe a TML. So that's like a translation management system in which you want to use to manage your translations. So I'm going to create a folder called local. Should I call it locals or local? This is a serious question, but I think we should call it locals. Yep. So different local, and then so for some people they will create like a folder, name the folder like the name of the locale. So maybe FR for French, EN for English, and so on and so forth. But I mean, I just like to create the file direct. So en.json and then fr.json, because it really does not make sense to have like a folder and still have a file named en.json again. So yeah, so in your en.json file, we're just going to come here and just copy this object, that's a translation object, into the en.json file. Now there is an error, and like why it's so is because like this is like an object, so like we need to like wrap it in like curly braces. I'm just gonna make use of Puppeteer to just do it for me. So yeah, this is what it was looking for. So same thing with the French translation. We're gonna copy it from here into here and do the old formatting. Yep. So with that done, we can now go into our. We can now go here and take off the old resources and set a backend part. That's like a load part where it's going to load the translation files from. So since we're no longer going to have resources from here, so we can delete all of this, and then we're going to declare like a backend. I don't know, no, it's not this. A backend in small letters, and then we're going to declare the part. Now so this is the default. People create like folders and all. So for us, we are just creating the locales folder, which is this folder, and then the file. So that is the language dot JSON. Yeah, this is like our file part. This is like where it's going to load the backend files from. So with this setup, we so everything is just going to work like nothing changed, right? So when you go to your application and you load, we're still going to have the, but here it looks like we're not getting the name, right? And this is because the name, oh, we changed it here. So I changed it to username. To hello, welcome to React. Where is that? Hello. Okay. Username. 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 That is strange. That is very strange. we're supposed to still see the name. As long as the name appears here, then it's supposed to work here. But it looks like we change it to name here. So name, username. It's strange. This is supposed to work, but basically, if you come back here and we change the translation to FR and we go back to our project, yeah, it's still going to work. So I'm going to pause this video to understand why. So I've always noticed that whenever I make use of the ICU plugin, it kind of breaks the code in a way, especially when I have to do like formatting. So I noticed that when I comment out like this initialization, the David shows. So yeah, it's something you may want to like bear in mind, yeah, so that you don't use like libraries. But you'll notice like yeah, our pluralization no longer works because we're not making use of the ICU. So yeah, it happens, yeah. So now we've been able to like load our files from like a backend, like from like distinct files, so like we can add more languages and like everything just works normally, right? Now the next thing I want us to explore is switching languages, which is very very important. So we need to, and it's very easy to implement. But one last thing I think is always cool when you are implementing localization like this. So you need to be aware that these translations, they are loaded asynchronously, like from these files. So it's always important to wrap your application like with a suspense, like with the suspense do we call it hook or function from React? Yeah, so I make sure that your app does not break. Yeah, so something is actually loading till it retrieves this translation. So for us to do this, we're going to import suspense from React. We're going to import suspense from React. So come to your application, and I like putting this at the top. Yeah, import suspense from React, and then can just create like a wrapped method. So I'm going to take off this export and just like put it there. So yeah, we're importing like using the app function. So yeah, it is this we're now exporting. Yep. So when the translations are loading, we're gonna say the loading translations till the name appears. Now, yeah, till the name appears. Yeah, so this is like good practice. This is good practice. Now, the last thing we're gonna one last thing we should explore is switching languages. And for us to do this, I think it just makes sense to um, let's create an array. So let's just call it LNG. So let's say equals to like should we call it an object? Yeah, I think that this like makes sense. This is like very chill. So we only have two languages, so English and French. So we have the yeah. So we have to destructure this to also get the current, like the local value. That's like if it's if it's English en, like yeah, so that we can like pass it, yeah. So it does not make sense now, but it's gonna make sense soon. So and then we're gonna loop through this and have like buttons. So I'm just gonna pull in a div. And let's just put it at the top here. Now what this is doing is looping through like this object, getting the keys. Yeah, so we loop the so yeah, we access. Honestly, this is very easy. And then we come here, we have like both. So it is displaying the native name since it's an object here. So we're trying to get the keys and using it to access like the native name key, the key value pair and all. And then we're attaching an on click method. Now this is very important, and this is why we the structure to get this i18next value. So it gives us access to this change language method, which we can actually use to like change the language. So it gives us access to like this internalization. So remember, where it gives us access to be able to like change this language right from here. So we're able to like change the language And now when we click on French, it changes to French, English changes to English. Yeah, so this is just very easy way to implement. So you don't really need to undo routing and all. So like, but yeah, you cannot. I think routing is like the best way to handle it. So whereby you are able to like have like the /fr on the URL and all. Yeah, that's like the best way honestly to handle like localization. But like, yeah, this is just a very basic way of handling localization. Maybe in another video I explain like implementing like localization routes with React, yeah, using the React router DOM. But like, yeah, it's a very easy process. And one last thing we're going to touch on in this video, which is like what we've not yet touched on, is formatting. Is being able to format like dates, when yeah, being able to format dates. And if we go to the library, the documentation, um where is it? There is formatting somewhere. So I could not see formatting in the React documentation. So I came to the actual documentation here. So there is formatting here. And i18next actually exposes you to JavaScript methods to handle like formatting numbers. So for example, you pass numbers like this and it's being able to like format it like this when you add the like something like this here. So it's a very cool process. But what I'm going to explain is using like the Luxon library. Yeah, yeah. This we're gonna explain like how to use. This is a very like popular library. Luxon. There are other libraries like moments.js, yeah, which is actually well supported. Um, yep. So like moments.js. You can also make use of moment.js here. So these are very popular methods that like can be used. I think would have used moment.js, but like, yeah, let's make use of Luxon. So basically what you need to do is to import the library. You need to import the library into your project. And then we need to like create like this custom formatter. I really don't know if this is like a good approach, but I think it's a good approach. Now, so Luxon actually gives you access to like some formatting, gives you access to like some parameters which you can use to format like your numbers and all. So if you come here, so yeah, stuff like this. So we have date short, date med, and all of this. So you see the output, it gives you like output like this. So once you pass it like this, so I'm going to add, so in our interaction, so here we're just gonna add like this custom formatter here. We're gonna add it here. And now why it is doing all of that is because we've not yet imported the Luxon library. So we're importing date time from the library, and then we don't need this here. So it takes the language and the value. So depending on the language, it helps us to format our dates. So local different locales have like their different ways of formatting dates. For some people, the day comes before the month, month comes before the day. So this is what like this library helps you achieve like quickly. And then you can now go into your so I'm just gonna add like a object here and just like say footer and then date. So today's date is, and now we're using this date huge. Now remember we saw this here, date huge, and then it's going to give us like this format, and then you see what the French format is going to be, and you see how like it is quite different. So here October comes before 14, but for French 14 comes before October. And this is why, oh my god, this is why these things are actually very important. So now going back to our project, so let's also do that for French. Oh my god, I really don't know I'm going to do this for French, but yeah, ChatGPT is very smart, right? So with this, can now come to our project, and let's just add a footer below here. Let's just add a footer below here. And now what it is doing is using the footer.date key, and then we are passing today's date to the date so it's also interpolation. So we're using date and passing today's date because like we have date here, and then this second parameter is just for formatting purposes. So when we save all of this and go to our project, we're gonna see footer.date. I feel something is not saved yet. Yep. So after saving all the files, so the date today is this. I'll go to French. It shows us something February, and yeah, that is like basic handling of like localization in your React project using the i18next library. There is more to what you can do with this library, and like honestly, and another thing I would have loved to touch on is testing, like being able using jest and react testing library to handle testing, because this is actually very important. So you have to ensure your application is properly internationalized, so that it's um and like so that like it prevents broken translations, missing keys, layout issues, and all. So this is like very important in like an actual use case. But this is where I'm going to be stopping in this video. So I hope in this video I've been able to explain what you need to know to handle localization in your project, like how it can be easy. And this approach actually applies to other programming languages like your Vue.js application, Remix application. So that is why I actually make you this. That's why I use the i18next library, because it's like a general library that works with JavaScript frameworks and even other like Flutter and even backend projects like the .NET project. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.